Ciao, it's Ace, and today I'm bringing the final version of my BULWARK build that I used to clear multiple level 100 nightmare dungeons with. Viable with and without uniques, this build is really fast and has both the best tankiness and highest burst in the game. Its main weakness is the medium-sized AoE it has, meaning it's more efficient to farm higher level content than low level one, which I consider a perk. I love looking down from a level 100 nightmare dungeon at my friends, still farming Champion's Demise, third week in a row. Mwah, chef kiss. For this build, we have 3 minor variations, a mid-game version without uniques, and 2 late-game versions, one with the Crone Staff and one with Tempest Roar. All 3 versions are rocking the same paragon board, custom made by Sanctum for us. He's by far the best board maker in D4. His boards are just nutty, and I just don't want to play Diablo 4 unless I have one of those. This build's main source of damage is still Earthen Bulwark, with innate Earthen Bulwark as its passive, turning your main defense into your main offense at the same time. We are using still Symbiotic Aspect on our Amulet, which will reset the cooldown of our non-ultimate abilities by 12 seconds whenever we proc the effect of the Keystone Nature's Fury, mostly by using very fast basic attacks. This includes also, of course, resetting Earthen Bulwark, which is great. The gameplay loop is as follows. If the content is somewhat challenging, I like to fortify myself by repeatedly cast Earthen Bulwark like a maniac, and I keep resetting the cooldown with basic attacks while I do that, and then I go into the fight with that. Activate your Hurricane before you go in, identify the most important target to kill, and get in close range with a dash. That's why also I prefer to use boots with 3 evade charges for this build, meaning I have more chances to use this. Activate your Poison Creeper if your variation is running it, to bolster your critical strike chance and apply poison to all the enemies. Remember that enemies will also do less damage if they are poisoned, because we are relying heavily on the stat damage reduction from poisoned enemies. Once you are close and personal to your target, let Earthen Bulwark explode by casting a new one, or the enemies will do that for you by hitting you in the face with their stuff. And of course, the last thing you need to care about is how to use Petrify properly. It's your ultimate, it's your most valuable cooldown, and you have to keep it just for elite mobs. Use it, stun lock them, and kill them. This was key to clear level 100 nightmare dungeons, as we just stun, then the second raid stuns again, and the elite will stay there for 10 seconds. The cooldown is gonna be to about 30 seconds, maybe less, so you will have it for every pack of elite as long as you keep it for that. Now let's get down to the nitty and gritty. What did I learn and optimize in this build? Well, the first one, kinda weird. I prefer to play this build with a controller, as it allows you to move and use basic abilities at the same time, more easily than with mouse and keyboard. If you have an Xbox controller, give it a go, and let me know if it feels better for you as well. I also learned Earthen Bulwark is an interesting ability, as it scales not with skill level, nor with weapon damage, but it massively scales with the stat barrier generation that can be found on gear. This is extremely overpowered, as you can quickly double your damage by racking up bonuses to barrier generation. It can be found on gems, chests, rings, helms, and even offense. Having multiple points in Bulwark is really only for defense, and does not provide you with more damage. Another interesting thing to note is that the maximum amount of shield you can have is equal to your base life, your life without modifiers, meaning that you can eventually take points out of Earthen Bulwark with enough barrier generation. I cried a little bit when I discovered that this chest with 4 levels on Earth Bulwark was dog water, because it kinda looked like best in slot, but unlucky. If you are wondering about the aspect Earthguard that doubles your Earthen Bulwark value, it will not increase your damage, so it was removed from the build in favor of Vigorous Aspect. Also, all builds will cast basic attacks while in werewolf form in one way or the other. so we can benefit from all the various werewolf buffs and bonuses. All 3 builds variations will be abusing the very OP boon Masochist to heal with our basic attacks. To do that, we'll need to be casting basic attacks as werewolves, which goes hand in hand with what we want to do. This will remove the need for slightly different paragon boards, as we will all be using the werewolf glyph instead of one build using the human glyph. Maybe the most broken thing I've learned is about the armor cap. Reaching the armor cap is super OP, meaning there is a massive gain in getting the last bit of armor near the cap. The armor needed to reach the armor cap changes depending on the monster levels. This build ensures that you will be armor capped, and don't worry about it, having full paragon boards and perfect stats. That's only required to reach armor cap against level 150 mobs in level 100 Nightmare Dungeons. If you upgrade your gear, always use Aspect of Disobedience, and if you don't have one, that can be found in the Codex of Aspects. And of course, try to have at least one item with increased armor while in werewolf form. That will be enough till level 100, where you will want 2 items with that. Bonus tip, Druid can have armor bonus on boots, which other classes can't. Try to have boots with movement speed and armor while in werewolf form. It's so OP that we can get 20% extra total armor just from boots. Now, the Crone Staff versus non-Crone Staff debate. The Crone Staff is an amazing item for this build, but probably not for the reasons everyone thinks. It was the first thought I had that it will count as 2 cast, but it does not. It might be a bug, but the item remains amazingly even without it. And this is why. Using Claw as your generator means about 25% more resets, as you cast 10% faster with Claw, but also you have 10% chance to double cast. On top of that, we heal with Masochist, and casting Storm Strike is invaluable, meaning we can do both things with Crone. The 25% damage reduction we get from Storm Strike and the free source of vulnerability is unreplaceable in my opinion, and it takes so much out of your build to not have that. Claw is also a direwolf skill and can apply poison and slow with its passive Toxic Claw and Neurotoxin. Crone Staff has a quicker casting speed this way, making it an ideal choice when farming content below level 70 Nightmare Dungeons, where you're already damage capped and all you want is just more explosions more quickly and getting over with. Now, the other version, with Tempest Roar and no Crone, the Tempest Roar setup is your push setup. That's what I used for level 100 Nightmare Dungeons. It's for super endgame, we're talking Nightmare Dungeons 70 plus. It has a lot more damage, more tankiness, and more heals. But this is only true with best in slot items, and this is how it works and why. Hurricane will count as a werewolf skill, okay? While wearing Tempest Roar, it will be a massive source of healing with the boon Masochist, that for every crit you're gonna be healing more. We can also remove Poison Creeper, as Hurricane will also apply poison for us now, like all werewolf skills do. This means removing the boon Pack Leader as well, as we will not be needing to reduce the cooldown of our Poison Creeper anymore. Because of that, we have more space in the build. We're gonna be adding Cyclone Armor in and taking Calm Before the Storm to reduce the cooldown of Petrify instead. The positive thing about Poison Creeper was mostly that the passive Brutal Poison Creeper, which allowed us to have 20% extra crit chance, ideal for people without much gear. But if you have crit chance on every piece of gear, it becomes much more valuable to obtain damage reduction, which is very useful for hardcore or Nightmare Dungeons above level 80, let's say. Since we've lost some crit chance with Poison Creeper, we can get it back by adding the Night Howler aspect for extra crit chance after using Blood Howl on or offhand. All we are left with is now a free aspect slot on our main hand, as we don't have Crone. We can fill that with anything really. I like Edgemaster aspect, it's a consistent source of extra damage. And this is gonna be it for the update on the build. For talents, paragon, gear, I left you a link in the description, since it will just be covering the same things of the previous video. It's all nicely and updated on Mobilytics website. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, have a good day and gobble gobble!